The Forsaken Heir. Previous episodes are available on the playlist. You can also visit our website for your favorite stories. A link is provided in the video description. Episode 53. It is for these reasons that Warnya has always respected him. So Warnya may deliberately conceal her birthday because she was afraid of owing a favor. Charlie thought of this, suddenly felt very interesting. Warnya, aren't you afraid of owing me favors? Then I will give you another great favor this time. For this birthday gift, I won't go out and buy it for you. I will prepare a rejuvenating pill for you. Everyone in the upper class of Oris Hill knows how magical the rejuvenation pill is. At the banquet that day, Mr. Song took the rejuvenating pill in public. Everyone witnessed the magical effect of the medicine. Charlie even heard that someone wanted to spend 100 million or even several hundred million to buy a rejuvenating pill. However, Charlie never thought about selling medicine. He is not short of money at all. A few hundred million, a dozen billion, or even a few billions are meaningless to him. If he sells rejuvenation pills everywhere for money, it will suppress the value of rejuvenation pills. It is to make everyone feel that rejuvenation pill is a super treasure that they can't ask for, and may not have a chance to get it in a lifetime. They will be full of endless worship and longing for the rejuvenation pills. As for why he should give Warnya a rejuvenating pill, Charlie thought very simply. First of all, he does regard Warnya as a good friend. Since it's a good friend's birthday, it makes sense to send a valuable gift. Secondly, Warnya is the eldest lady of the Song family. She has seen countless good things since she was a child. If he gives her a gift, it must be a gift that she can't buy with money. Once again, this thing, rejuvenating pill, he gave to Warnya, but it was not for Warnya. Warnya is still very young now, she is only about 25 years old, and she doesn't need to take rejuvenating pill at all. He gave her a rejuvenation pill. The fundamental purpose was to use this rejuvenation pill in exchange for the love, attention, and resource preference of Mr. Song. Last time he gave Mr. Song a rejuvenating pill. Mr. Song took the entire Song family and knelt down in front of all the upper-class people in Oris Hill. This shows that Mr. Song's desire for rejuvenation pill is beyond everything. But Mr. Song must also know in his heart that giving him a rejuvenating pill by himself is already a great favor, and it was given in the face of Warnya. He certainly didn't dare to hope there was still a chance to get a second one from himself. Now he gives this rejuvenation pill to Warnya. A clever person like Mr. Song will know his intentions, and he will pay more attention to Warnya, and may even let her inherit the entire Song family. Charlie could tell that Warnya herself was also a very ambitious woman. Otherwise, she would not have worked so hard for the family all the time. And because her parents died early, she was in the Song family, somewhat helpless. Under such circumstances, it may be very difficult to fight a turnaround and successfully inherit the Song family. That being the case, he might as well give her a hand. After Paul sent Charlie to Thompson, he drove home. Charlie went back to the villa by himself, and Jacob, the old father-in-law, hurriedly greeted him and asked him, "Good son-in-law, have you gone out with Paul today to see your aunt?" Charlie said helplessly, "Dad, how can I see Aunt when I go out with Paul on errands?" Jacob couldn't help sighing, feeling very depressed. He missed Miking very much these days, but Elaine was at home, so he really didn't dare to risk seeing her. So at this time he was scratching my heart. He asked Charlie again, then have you asked Paul about the current situation of your aunt? How is she doing these days? Charlie laughed and said, Aunt should be doing well recently. I heard Paul say that she now teaches in senior colleges every day. Not only does she teach classes, she also learns calligraphy and painting from others. She has a very good life. When Jacob heard this, he was anxious. Oh, how can she go to senior college? Charlie asked in surprise, what's wrong with the university for the elderly? Isn't the university for the elderly the place for the elderly? Jacob said with a gloomy expression, don't you know that there are so many old men without a wife in this elderly university? They are a bunch of bad old men who went in not to learn things, but to find a wife. After speaking, he said nervously again, your aunt is so beautiful, so after entering, you can't let these old men worry about her? Charlie smiled and said, then can you stop others from worrying? Jacob sighed, that's right, now this situation is really depressing. After he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly brightened and said, yes, I can also go to senior college. Then, won't I be able to meet your aunt? Charlie asked him, aren't you afraid that Mom would know? It's okay. Jacob said earnestly, what kind of woman your mother is, don't you know? She is desperate for face, you see, she is now limping, crutches, and has lost 2 front teeth. She can't make up for the time being. How dare she go to crowded places now? Every time she goes out to buy things, she has to wear sunglasses and a mask, for fear that others will recognize her, so she dare not go to senior college. Okay. Charlie nodded and didn't say much. In fact, he doesn't care much about Jacob and Miking's affairs. If Jacob and Miking walked too close and his wife Claire knew, she would definitely be very sad and very depressed. If his mother-in-law Elaine knew about it, it would be terrible. So it can only wrong the old master. 2 days later, Charlie told his family in advance that he had a friend's birthday tonight. In the afternoon, he went to the street and bought a redwood gift box, and then put a rejuvenating pill in it. After putting it away, he asked the owner of the gift shop to help meticulously pack the gift box. Since it is a birthday present, it naturally requires a sense of ritual. Because Paul was also invited, he simply drove to pick Charlie to the Song's villa. On Warnya's birthday, the Song family didn't put up lights and festoons, but made some modern and warm decorations. When Paul drove the car into the courtyard, Charlie couldn't even see that these arrangements were for a birthday party. Tonight Warnya is wearing a tailor-made white dress. This skirt is a tube top, so it looks very and beautiful, especially Warnya's collarbone, which is not only very obvious, but also beautiful in shape. Even women will be jealous. A lot of luxury cars have been parked in the yard, and it seems that there are still a lot of guests here today. Warnya originally greeted the guests inside, but when she heard that Charlie was here, she hurried out to meet him. Charlie couldn't help feeling very surprised when he saw her. He had long felt that Warnya's appearance and figure were no less inferior to his wife Claire. Even the aristocratic temperament that Warnya has cultivated since childhood is unmatched by his own wife. After all, she is the eldest lady of the local top big family. Since she was young, she has received noble etiquette teachings, which is still very different from ordinary girls. Seeing Charlie, Warnya came in the morning very excited, and said with a bit of shyness, "Mr. Wade, you are here." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Miss Warnya, why didn't you tell me in advance for your birthday today?" Warnya said apologetically, "Mr. Wade also asks you not to be offended. The reason why I didn't tell you was because I was afraid that you would prepare gifts and spend money." Charlie smiled and said, "In fact, there is nothing to spend, are we two friends? I will definitely give you a gift for your birthday. Even if you don't say it, I will prepare a gift for you." After that, Charlie took out the small box containing rejuvenation pill from his pocket. It's just that this gift box is packed very carefully, so no one knows what it is. Warnya felt joy in her heart when she saw the gift Charlie had prepared for her. She had always liked Charlie very much in her heart, and this was also the first birthday gift that her sweetheart gave her. Naturally, she was extremely excited. So she accepted the gift and gratefully said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, thank you so much, you specially prepared gifts for me." Charlie smiled slightly, "Yes, you and I don't have to be polite." Charlie's words made Warnya's heart as sweet as honey. Paul by his side also stepped forward at this moment, handed her a gift box and smiled and said, "Miss Song, happy birthday." Warnya looked at Paul with a smile and asked, "You must have told Mr. Wade that I have my birthday today, right?" "Yes." Paul smiled, "When Mr. Wade called, I was finishing official business with Mr. Wade." "Really?" Warnya asked in surprise, "Do you still have business dealings with Mr. Wade?" Paul smiled and said, "I am now Mr. Wade's lawyer and legal counsel." Charlie smiled and said, "And it's the kind that doesn't have any money?" Warnya asked curiously, "Mr. Wade, what do you want the legal counsel to do now? Are you having any trouble?" "No." Charlie smiled and said, "I just took a company, so let Paul help me deal with some legal details." "Understood." Warnya nodded and said with a smile, "Mr. Wade, let's go in now, there are still many acquaintances." "It is good." Charlie followed Warnya into the Song family villa, and the huge hall had been arranged into a banquet hall. In the banquet hall at this time, there was not only a reception, but also a band playing jazz music. Charlie glanced and saw many acquaintances. The first thing he saw was Warnya's cousin Honor. But Charlie didn't like Honor, so he didn't go to say hello to him. Among the guests outside were Isaac, Solomon White, Mr. Orville, Tian Kai, his granddaughters Zhovia, Chin Gang, and his daughter Aoxu. There is even Taylor, the richest man in Hiken. Even Doris from the Emgrand group came. It seems that Warnya invited these, they are all old friends who have a better relationship. At this moment, the guests who came to Warnya's birthday dinner, in fact, the one who was really waiting in the heart was Charlie. Everyone knows that the Wu family and his son came to Oris Hill some time ago and had conflicts with him. At Father Song's birthday banquet, Charlie even broke Roger's hand in public. Then, Isaac came forward and even interrupted their legs, finally letting the father and son escape back to Suzhou in embarrassment. Since then, everyone felt that Mr. Wade was absolutely fearless, even the first family of Oris Hill did not care. At that time, many people were still worried that Mr. Wade would eventually be no match for the Wu family, which has strong assets. Unexpectedly, in a short time, the Wu family fell from the position of the first family in Oris Hill. Moreover, there are too many things that happened in the Wu family during this period. First of all, the reputation was greatly hit by the beggar gang. Secondly, they successively sent masters to Qinbei Mountain but failed one after another. For the last time, even their true trump card and the last reliance, the 8 heavenly kings, have been killed. The Wu family now can't even reach the level of a first-class family, and it's far from the Song family. Although there is no evidence that all of this was done by Charlie, everyone was in their hearts and counted all of this on Charlie's head. In their eyes, only Mr. Charlie Wade had such an ability. Especially Isaac, he was at the foot of Qinbei Mountain and saw how Charlie killed the 8 heavenly kings with his own power. So at this moment, Charlie is a god in his eyes, a god who transcends everything. Isaac was the first to walk towards Charlie. He walked towards Charlie quickly, even wishing to kneel for Charlie first. Because that day in Qinbei Mountain, Charlie shocked him too much, and he had completely subverted all his worldviews. However, he still knew that he has to be restrained. He was only polite when he saw Charlie, and respectfully called Mr. Wade. He didn't know that he was from the Wade family, young Mr. He thought Isaac had also asked him to see feng shui or something. Immediately walking up was Doris wearing a bright silver dress. In Charlie's impression, Doris has always been the kind of ascetic professional beauty. But today's Doris is dressed very sexy and enchanting, and her state is very good. People who don't know, if they see the current Doris, they will think that she is a sexy goddess. Doris naturally knew the identity of Charlie, but she knew very little about the identity of his Wade family. After all, she is not a member of the Oris Hill family, nor is she involved in contact with those in the metaphysical circles, so the things Charlie did as Mr. Wade, and Doris are almost completely two worlds. Doris wanted to call him young master very much, but because so many people were here, she could only call out politely, "Mr. Charlie." Charlie nodded at her slightly, and said, "President Doris dressed up very beautifully today. I really didn't expect the vice chairman of the Emgrand Group to be such a beautiful and enchanting beauty." Doris blushed beautifully, and said shamefully, "Mr. Charlie, you have praised me to sky." After speaking, Doris smiled and said, "Mr. Charlie, when will you have time to come to the Emgrand Group to sit down?" Doris's words made Charlie blush. He knew that he, the chairman of the Emgrand Group, was really incompetent. Usually, I would not go to the Emgrand Group, and I only asked about the Emgrand Group. Everything was directly passed to Doris. As Doris said just now, it is estimated that she also hopes that she can go to the Emgrand Group more. Thinking of this, he smiled and said to Doris, "Just for such a beautiful president, I will often come to the Emgrand Group to impress or harass." When Doris heard this, her unparalleled pretty face turned bright red. At this time, Tiankai also brought Zhovia over. Zhovia looked at Charlie with tenderness in her beautiful eyes. At the same time, there are some small complaints in her young girl's heart, always feel that Mr. Wade seems to have paid less attention to her and her grandfather recently. Because during this time they haven't seen Mr. Wade go to the clinic again, so even though she thought about him, she didn't have much chance to see him. Tian Kai didn't have so much thoughtfulness from his granddaughter. He just felt that one day he didn't see Mr. Wade. After taking the rejuvenating pill, he could feel every day how important it is to return to his youth, so every moment he deep down, he's grateful to Charlie. Therefore, he walked up quickly, bowed to Charlie with his fists, and said respectfully, "Mr. Wade, I haven't seen you for some time. I wonder if Mr. Wade, how are you coming in these days?" Charlie smiled faintly. "The genius Dr. Tian Kai is polite. I'm pretty good recently. I don't know how old she is." Tian Kai said earnestly, "The blessing of Master, I feel perfect every day now. Thanks to Mr. Wade for giving me a great opportunity." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "You also said, this is your chance, so don't be polite with me." Aoxu, who was tasting dessert, suddenly saw Charlie coming. Her excited little heart thumped and thumped. Her face was already red before she could talk to Charlie. Aoxu's character is the kind of little pepper that dared to love and hate. When she was facing Charlie, she dared to do it against Charlie, even if Charlie kicked her. But now Aoxu has completely regarded Charlie as her dream lover, and she has to think about him for a long time before going to bed almost every night before she can fall asleep. Moreover, Aoxu would frequently dream of Charlie in her dreams, and sometimes in her dreams, she would also dream of doing some shameful things with Charlie. No way, because Aoxu really liked Charlie. After Charlie saved the Qin family, Aoxu worshipped him. Later, Charlie was about to start refining magical medicine. Aoxu was entrusted by her father Qin Gang to ask Charlie for the medicine. She thought that even if Charlie could give one, it was already a great gift, but he did not expect that Charlie told Aoxu at the time, "For the face of your little beauty, I will give you two." From that moment, Aoxu had fallen in love with Charlie deeply. What made her love Charlie even more was that he helped her to be a hero. Her good friend, who was traumatized by Wu Qi, almost wanted to commit suicide, and she didn't know Wu Qi's true background. Unexpectedly, Charlie would not hesitate to offend the second young master of the Wu family of Oris Hill First family for her face. Moreover, he also treated the second young master of the Wu family so miserably, so she was happy. From that moment on, Charlie became the god in Aoxu's heart. And it was the god that Aoxu loved deeply. At this moment, seeing her dream lover finally came, all Aoxu's emotions were beyond words. She took her father and ran all the way to Charlie, her face flushed with shame. She took a deep look at Charlie, then quickly moved her eyes to the side, but said tenderly, "Mr. Wade, Aoxu has been waiting for you for a long time, you are finally here." When Charlie looked at Aoxu, Aoxu was already flushed with shame. Aoxu herself was the kind of brave girl, and she was also a martial artist, and she herself had nothing to do with shyness and weakness. But because her heart was full of the little girl's shyness and excitement when she met her sweetheart, it seemed that she suddenly became a rousing love. Charlie smiled at her slightly and said, "Aoxu is also here, how are you doing?" Aoxu blushed and said, "Recently, it's been pretty good, thank you Mr. Wade for caring." Charlie nodded lightly and said to everyone, "Everyone hasn't seen each other for some days. Today happens to be Miss Song's birthday. You can drink a few more glasses later." Everyone hurriedly said, "It must be. We must have a few more drinks tonight." Warnya said a little apologetically at this time. "Mr. Wade, please wait a moment, I have to greet some guests." Charlie nodded. "Go ahead and leave me alone." Warnya bid farewell to everyone, and everyone invited Charlie to the banquet hall for a cocktail. Charlie readily agreed, and was surrounded by the crowd to the side of the banquet hall. Because Charlie was the focus of everyone's attention, Aoxu felt a little bit unable to intervene, which made the little girl feel anxious. When Charlie saw Aoxu hesitated to speak several times, he was even preempted by others before he even spoke. He smiled and asked her, "Aoxu, do you have anything to tell me?" When Aoxu heard this, she nodded with joy, and said, "Mr. Wade, I have something to tell you in private. I wonder if you have time?" After speaking, her big eyes looked at Charlie with expectation and pleading. Charlie still had a good impression of her. One is because she is self-reliant and does not have the ills of a big family. Second, as a little girl from a big family, she could still work hard to practice martial arts, which is really rare among the children of the rich family. So Charlie said to her, "Why don't you accompany me out to go around?" Aoxu nodded excitedly when she heard this. Seeing this scene, Qin Gang grinned happily. He especially looked forward to Charlie's development with his daughter. In his opinion, even Aoxu's love to Charlie was a blessing for the Qin family and even the girl herself. Seeing Aoxu follow Charlie out, Zhovia was also jealous and envious. In her heart, why didn't she want to have more contact with Charlie? It's just that there has been no very suitable opportunity. Moreover, she was not as bold as Aoxu. She dared to speak directly to Mr. Wade in front of so many people. At this moment, Charlie took Aoxu out of the house and came to the courtyard of Song's villa. Then he stopped and looked at Aoxu with a faint smile. "Let's talk about the little girl, what's the matter this time? It's not the schoolmates who were bullied again, right?" Aoxu smiled shyly, and said falteringly, "Mr. Wade, Aoxu is looking for you this time, in fact." Aoxu was shy and embarrassed inside, so she didn't know how to start. Charlie smiled and said, "Is this the little pepper Aoxu I remember? The Aoxu I knew dared to follow me when she was in Antique Street. Why is this Aoxu even talking in front of me? Can't say it." Aoxu was even more shy when she heard this, and said nervously and shyly, "Mr. Wade, people didn't know how good you were at the beginning, so there are people who don't know your excellency. Don't laugh at them." With that, she thought that Charlie had kicked her that day, and she replied in shame, but she felt a little happy like a girl. Afterwards, she plucked up the courage and said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, I actually want to invite you to watch the International College Sanda competition held in Oris Hill this year." Charlie frowned and said, "International College Sanda competition?" Charlie suddenly thought of a detail. Liang once told him that Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals seemed to sponsor this competition in order to promote their new drug, Kobayashi Vicin. Charlie remembered that Aoxu had been practicing martial arts, and asked curiously, "Aoxu, will you also participate in this competition?" Aoxu blushed and nodded and said, "Mr. Wade, I will represent Chinese college students this time." "Oh?" Charlie said in surprise, "So powerful? Are you confident to win the championship?" Aoxu replied with shame, "I don't dare to win the championship, because the seeded player from Japan this time is still very powerful. She is also the current favorite to win the championship, and her strength is indeed much stronger than me. After speaking, Aoxu said again, but I won't be discouraged either, my goal is to break into the top 3. Charlie smiled and said, dreams are only possible if you dare to think about it. I am very optimistic about you. I think it's no problem for you to get the first place. Most of the Japanese fighting and sanda are the essence of our Chinese martial arts. At that time, you must win glory for the country, give a good lesson to the other players, win the championship in our territory, and win glory for the country. Aoxu asked with joy, Mr. Wade, do you really believe that I can get the first place? Charlie nodded, of course, I am very optimistic about you. Aoxu said happily, Mr. Wade, can I invite you to watch the game then? Charlie agreed without hesitation and said, don't worry, I will definitely come to the game when you are in the game, and I will cheer you on the scene. Great! Aoxu jumped up happily. She subconsciously wanted to hug Charlie and behave like a coquettish to her father at home. But suddenly thinking that Charlie was a married person, she couldn't make such an intimate move, so she withdrew again. Charlie asked Aoxu at this time, by the way, Aoxu, when I was practicing magic medicine, I gave your family 2 pills. Did your father keep one for you? Yes. Aoxu took out a small box from the inner pocket of her coat. After opening it, it contained the medicine that Charlie gave her. She blushed and said, the medicine given by Mr. Wade was given to me by my father that night. I kept it next to my skin. Charlie nodded, and said, this medicine is still very helpful for physical fitness. If you feel strenuous or unsure about the competition, then take this pill. Aoxu blurted out, why then? Mr. Wade gave this to me. I must take good care of it and treasure it. Charlie smiled indifferently, this medicine is made for people to eat, so why bother about it? Aoxu said with a hum, okay, Mr. Wade, I know. After agreeing with Aoxu that he would definitely go to watch her game, Charlie took her back to the banquet scene. At this time, some guests came to the banquet site, and the atmosphere gradually became lively. Old Song heard that Charlie was here, and he hurried out to say hello, but when he came out, Charlie had already gone out with Aoxu. As soon as Charlie went back, Mr. Song greeted him and said happily, oh, Mr. Wade, you have been gone for many days. Charlie looked at the Song, and smiled slightly, Mr. Song, you are still very strong in spirit, have you been in good health recently? Mr. Song said with a grateful expression, Mr. Wade, thanks to you, the dying old master can regain his second spring. Then he asked Charlie, Mr. Wade, how are you doing these days? Charlie nodded and smiled, I'm not bad, everything is the same. Mr. Song said vaguely, Mr. Wade, you seemed a bit unhappy with the Wu family before. Since the birthday banquet, the Wu family hasn't made things difficult for you, right? Charlie smiled and said, what can they do if they make things difficult, just a bunch of clowns. Mr. Song's expression was full of admiration. He knew that Charlie had the ability to reach the sky. Although the Wu family was the #1 family in the south of the Yangtze River, they still couldn't handle Mr. Wade. At this moment, Honor walked over and whispered in the old master's ear, Grandpa, Mr. Kevin from the East Cliff Kevin family is here. Old Master Song was surprised and said, Mr. Kevin is really here? Yes. Honor said, Mr. Kevin's car has just entered the villa area and he will be here soon. Father Song nodded and said, Call Warnya, let's go out together to meet him. After finishing speaking, he turned around and said to Charlie with an apologetic look, Mr. Wade, please forgive the old and bad greetings. There is also a distinguished guest coming from afar from East Cliff. I will go out to meet him. Charlie didn't take it seriously, and nodded gently. Isaac on the side was a little surprised. He whispered to Charlie, Mr. Wade, the Kevin family is in East Cliff. It is a second-class family. The overall strength in the East Cliff can be ranked 6th or 7th. It's a far cry, but their family's assets add up to 500 or 600 billion. The Song family is just in the early 100s. It stands to reason that the Kevin family should not look down on the Song family, knowing why their young master came here. Charlie smiled indifferently, and said, although I don't know the specific situation of the Kevin family, with the strength of the Kevin family, in a place like East Cliff where the dragon and the tiger are hidden, it is really difficult to go further. What do you think they will do if it is advancing? Isaac thought about it carefully, and said, if there is no way to go locally, then it can only spread to the surrounding areas. After speaking, he asked in surprise, Mr. Wade, do you mean that the Kevin family might want to develop in Oris Hill? Charlie smiled and said, Oris Hill is just a springboard, and the Kevin family must have realized that this time is a good opportunity for southward development. Because the Wu family has given up the position of the first family in Oris Hill, the key now is who will be the first family in Oris Hill. Although the strength of the Song family is slightly weaker, it is not without a chance. If I were the custodian of the Kevin family, then I would definitely find a relatively good family in Oris Hill, and then unite with him to help him become the first family in Oris Hill, and at the same time let him be loyal to myself and become his external power. In this case, I have already extended my tentacles into Oris Hill, and at the same time have laid the foundation for Oris Hill. Isaac said, Mr. Wade, I understand what you mean. It seems that this is the case with the Kevin family. It should be because of the Song family and want to cooperate with the Song family. Charlie nodded. The Kevin family is here for Miss Song's birthday party at this time. I guess they have deeper thoughts, and maybe even want to marry into the Song family. Isaac frowned and said, Mr. Wade, if the Kevin family is married, they may not be able to look at the Song family. Charlie smiled and said, the key depends on the status of Mr. Kevin sent by the other party in the Kevin family. If he is the eldest son of the Kevin family, then the possibility is really small, but if he is just one of many descendants, and it may be the one who doesn't show up very much. If he is sent to marry Warnya, the Kevin family is not at a loss, right? Isaac thoughtfully said, according to what you said, it is indeed not a loss. The Kevin family seems to be quite prosperous. Among the young children of this generation, there should be 6 or 7 males. Charlie said, this intermarriage is like Tianji's horse racing. The opponent's overall strength is stronger than yours. It doesn't mean that each of his horses is stronger than your best horse. Maybe his inferior horse is not as good as yours. Wait for the horse. Isaac nodded again and again. Mr. Wade, what you said is very reasonable, I have been taught. Charlie waved his hand and said with a smile, you have been cultivating in Oris Hill for many years. I believe you can understand this point. Even if you don't want to understand it for a while, you can figure it out clearly with a single sentence. At this moment, Paul, who was doing nothing with a wine glass not far away, really looked at Charlie with admiration. He felt that Charlie had refreshed his impression of him again. Because he didn't expect that the entire upper-class people in Oris Hill would even respect Charlie. The one who followed Charlie and whispered to him at this time was the spokesperson of the Wade family in Oris Hill. Even he is so respectful to Charlie, which shows how much influence Charlie has in Oris Hill. At this time, someone in the banquet hall suddenly shouted, the third young master of the East Cliff Kevin family is here. This sentence caused an uproar in the entire banquet hall. The East Cliff Kevin family can rank in the top 10 in East Cliff's strength, with total assets of more than 500 billion, a deep family background and superior strength. In terms of asset size alone, the Kevin family is at least 5 times that of the Song family. The third young master of the Kevin family unexpectedly came to Oris Hill to attend the birthday party for Miss Song family. This made everyone feel an unusual taste. Some people even exclaimed, does the Kevin family want to marry the Song family? Some people also said, it is very possible that Miss Song is so beautiful, so temperamental and capable, but in the eyes of East Cliff's big family, she is definitely a good daughter-in-law. Isaac said to Charlie, Mr. Wade, the third young master of the Kevin family, is actually quite good in the Kevin family. Charlie asked with great interest, how so? Isaac explained, the Kevin family had 4 males in the previous generation. Each of them has at least 2 children, and each of them has a son. This third young master is the only son of the second child of the Kevin family. Third, but strength and influence can be ranked second. Charlie nodded and said with a smile, it seems that the Kevin family wants to use their middle-class horse to fight the Song family's superior horse. Isaac smiled slightly and said, I think Miss Song may not be able to see him. Charlie asked curiously, why did you say this? Isaac said earnestly, Mr. Wade, you shouldn't fail to see it. In Miss Song's eyes, it has always been shining to you, a man. I believe Miss Song must like you very much. Get up, let alone the third young master of the Kevin family, even if all the young masters of the Kevin family add up, it's not as good as you in case. Charlie waved his hand and said, in the future, please don't say anything like this. Miss Warnia is not yet married, and I am a married man. If you say this kind of words, it will affect her reputation. Understand? Isaac nodded and said, Mr. Wade, don't worry, I will also tell you that. Soon, a well-dressed young man walked in, surrounded by the Song family. Honor and his father Tian Ming have been following the young man's side, appearing very diligent. Father Song and Warnia also followed, but hers expression was a little cold. Charlie looked at the young man, he was about 27 or 28 years old, his expression was very arrogant. Isaac on the side said calmly, I see the third young master of the Kevin family, it seems like a dragon came to the fish pond. He certainly would not have imagined that you, the real dragon, live in this small fish pond in Oris Hill. Charlie smiled slightly, not commenting on what he said. In fact, Charlie didn't care. Others put on airs in front of him. No matter how big other people's heirs are, it is their own business. As long as they don't provoke them to pretend to be forceful, they don't bother to control him. The crowd exclaimed in exclamations, and no one expected that the third young master of the Kevin family would actually come. Among them, there are many pauper families who want to have a relationship with the Kevin family. They look at the third young master of the Kevin family, like a greedy cat seeing the fish. The Song family accompanied the third young master of the Kevin family into the banquet hall. Elder Song took the lead to lead him to Charlie, and respectfully introduced Charlie, saying, "Third young master, this is the famous Master Charlie Wade from Oris Hill. He is Song's lifesaver, just like you, a young talent and dragon among the people." The third young master of the Kevin family looked at Charlie, and felt that this kid didn't seem to have any great things, and he was nothing more than an ordinary person in his clothes. The third young master of the Kevin family was about to sneer Charlie with contempt, but he didn't expect that with a glance, Claire saw Isaac. The third young master of the Kevin family naturally knew Isaac. After all, Isaac belonged to the Wade family. Moreover, the Wade family's power is much stronger than that of the Kevin family. Even the Kevin family wants to curry favor with the Wade family, so he was surprised to see Isaac here. Then he looked at Charlie again, and suddenly felt that Isaac was here. This kid was named Wade, so would he be the young master of the Wade family? Thinking of this, the third young master of the Kevin family said to Charlie politely, "Oh, it turned out to be Charlie, who looked up for a long time. Some time ago, I wanted to visit Wade's house, but I didn't get my wish. I didn't expect to see him here." Charlie smiled indifferently and said, "This gentleman should have admitted the wrong person. I am not the young master of the Wade family, but my surname is Wade." The third young master of the Kevin family hurriedly looked at Isaac, and asked with some respect, "Mr. Isaac, you are from the Wade family. Isn't this the young master of the Wade family?" Isaac smiled and said, "You have also heard Mr. Wade say that he just happened to have the last name Wade." The third young master of the Kevin family nodded, and when he looked at Charlie, his eyes were full of disdain. A so-called Mr. Feather Wade dare to compare himself with him, is he a SHT? Thinking of this, he was too lazy to talk to Charlie again, hugged Isaac, and smiled, "I didn't expect Mr. Isaac to be here today. I was planning to visit Shangri-La tomorrow." Isaac said lightly, "The third young master is polite. I wonder why the third young master has time to come to Oris Hill?" The third young master of the Kevin family glanced at Warnia and said with a smile, "My sister and Miss Warnia were classmates abroad back then. This time I came to Oris Hill to talk about cooperation with the Song family. I originally planned to come in 2 days. But I heard that today is Miss Warnia's birthday, so I came here early." With that, he took out a very exquisite gift box from his pocket. After opening it, a shiny ruby necklace appeared inside. He said to Warnia, "Miss Warnia, I personally selected this necklace for you. A natural ruby from Africa." Everyone looked into the box one after another, and saw that there was a beautiful necklace in the box, which was also inlaid with a crystal clear ruby almost the size of an egg. Many people present involuntarily exclaimed. Everyone also knows the goods, knowing that this ruby is extremely valuable. Seeing that everyone was startled by his ruby necklace, the third young master of the Kevin family smiled triumphantly and said, Miss Warnia should also know that ruby is the most expensive of all gemstones. The price is 1 carat in the world. It's going to sell for tens of thousands, especially for such a particularly pure ruby, and it has 26 carats. I also found Tiffany's best master jeweler, polished this gem, and finished the setting. The price of this one is more than 20 million USD, and I hope Miss Warnia will like it. Many people are envious, their eyes are almost falling off. It was incredible to receive a gift of $20 million on a birthday. But Warnia didn't seem to be interested in the necklace at all. She said calmly, "Mr. San, this necklace is too expensive, I can't collect it. Is there anything you can't take?" The third young master of the Kevin family said with a smile, "It's nothing more than a string of necklaces. For the Kevin family, it's just a drop in the bucket. I also think this necklace really matches Miss Warnia's temperament, so I bought it as a gift for you, so you don't have to be polite to me, just accept it." Warnia said with a serious face, "Mr. San, you are too polite. As the saying goes, you can't afford to be rewarded for nothing. How can I just accept such an expensive gift from you? I take it for you, but please take this necklace back." The third young master of the Kevin family suddenly looked a little gloomy, and asked her, "Miss Song, why are you and me so polite? This time, not only for your birthday, but also for the in-depth cooperation with your Song family. You if are so polite at the beginning, how can this cooperation continue?" Honor on the side hurriedly said, "Warnia, what do you want? The third young master gave you such a good gift, how can you neglect the hard work of the third young master? Don't hurry up." Honor's father Tianming also nodded again and again, "Warnia, don't look at it. Whoever would give such a large gift on a birthday would be so generous." Warnia said stubbornly, "I know that the gifts from the third young master is very generous, and I am very grateful, but I really can't accept such a valuable gift. Please forgive me. This is a matter of my personal principle, not for the third young master, or if you have any comments on this necklace, please don't get me wrong." Grandpa Song also came out at this time and said, "Mr. San, your gift is indeed too expensive. Warnia is embarrassed to accept it. It is normal. Please forgive me." The third young master of the Kevin family frowned and asked, "Mr. Song, do you and Miss Warnia look down on me or our Kevin family?" The third young master of the Kevin family suddenly began to attack, making Grandpa Song feel quite difficult. He knew that the Song family was not as strong as the East Cliff Kevin family, so he was cautious and polite, but his politeness was only out of politeness, and he didn't really want to take this opportunity to build a relationship with the Kevin family. After all, the old master has seen everything in the wind and rain in his life, so he can see at a glance what the purpose of the third young master of the Kevin family came here today. Regardless of how the Kevin family wants to cooperate with the Song family, the third young master of the Kevin family must have ideas about his granddaughter Warnia. If it were put in the past, if the Kevin family really wanted to marry the Song family, it would be too late for him to be excited. But now he really have no interest in them. Because in the eyes of Mr. Song, the best grandson-in-law candidate is Mr. Wade, who is close to him. If Mr. Charlie could become his grandson-in-law, he wouldn't want to change even if he was the richest man in the world. What's even more rare is that his granddaughter is also enamored with Mr. Wade. If it weren't for Mr. Wade's rejuvenation pill, I am afraid that he would be dead now, so how can he have such a healthy posture? So in the eyes of Mr. Song, no one in this world can be compared to Charlie. Because what Charlie can bring to him is precious life. When Tianming next to him saw this, he was afraid that his father would offend young Mr. Kevin, so he hurried forward and said, "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kevin. This gift is so expensive, I must have liked Warnya too, but the character of this child is it's relatively dull and doesn't speak well, so I, as an uncle, take her to accept this gift, and thank Mr. Kevin for her." Warnya still wanted to talk, but the old Master Song winked at her. Mr. Song whispered in her ear, "Listen, don't hit the smiley man with your hand, let's accept it first, and then return it to him privately after the banquet." Warnya nodded her head when she saw that Grandpa said so. Then, the third young master of the Kevin family, accompanied by Tianming and Honor, entered the banquet hall and took a seat. The third young master of the Kevin family has eyes above the top, and he has a heart for everyone and dismisses him. He only greeted Isaac, "Mr. Isaac, sit together?" Isaac wanted to see Charlie subconsciously, but he remembered that Charlie didn't want to reveal his identity, and he really wasn't suitable for having too much open communication with him. Just when he was about to reject the third young master of the Kevin family, old Mr. Song on the side said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, let's get together. There are 6 tables in the banquet hall, but one of them is the main guest table. As the name suggests, the main guest table is for the host to entertain the most distinguished guests." The old master of the Song family, with Tianming, Honor, and Warnya, sits in the tensa at guest seat. The remaining 6 seats will be ranked by seniority based on the strength of everyone present. Tianming and Honor father and son naturally invited the third young master of the Kevin family to take a seat, and Mr. Song invited Charlie to also sit at this table. The remaining 4 seats were given to Isaac, Doris, Taylor, and Qin Gang. Although Solomon White's strength was not bad, he was worse than Qin Gang, so he could not sit in the main guest seat. Little Chili, although Aoxia wanted to be with her father, sitting at the same table with Mr. Wade. But because the seats were full, she could only sit with Zhovia. Before the feast started, the old master stood up and said a word of thanks. When speaking of thanking the guests in the thank you speech, Mr. Song said as soon as he came up, "Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, for attending the birthday party of Mr. Song's granddaughter today." As soon as Mr. Song said this, the third young master of the Kevin family who was sitting in the main guest table, his expression turned black. "What? Is this Song family's old master so ignorant of praise? He drove over to enjoy granddaughter's birthday party, but he didn't put himself in the first place of thanks?" Thinking of this, he couldn't help but glance at Charlie at the same table. This kid looked plain and unremarkable, and he had no idea why the Song family old master was so polite to him. After he thanked White Charlie, they thanked the third master of the Kevin family. Seeing that he was actually robbed of the C position by Charlie's unknown origin, the third young master of the Kevin family felt angry. At this moment, the old master Song finished his speech, so Warnya went up to thank him. The dignified and majestic Warnya, like Mr. Song, is the first to thank Charlie when thanking guests. When they talked, their big talking eyes looked at Charlie with affection, and said seriously, "Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, for taking the time to attend my birthday party in his busy schedule. I am flattered." After thanking Charlie, Warnya said again, "In addition to thanking Mr. Wade, Warnya also thanks all the friends who are here today. Thank you for your support." After speaking, Warnya bowed to everyone. The third young master of Kevin's nose is almost crooked. Although the old master Song ranked himself second, he thanked him for his appreciation by naming him. But when he arrived at Warnya, she didn't even mention his name, completely conflating him with others, which really made him angry. At this time, he whispered to Honor next to him, "What is the origin of Charlie?" Honor has always been very upset with Charlie, but he did not dare to neglect him. At this time, seeing that the third young master of the Kevin family seemed to be dissatisfied with Charlie, so he said in a smooth way, "This Charlie is our more famous live-in son-in-law in Oris Hill. At the same time, he is also a well-known feng shui master, who seems to know traditional medicine, so people call him Mr. Wade." After hearing this, the third young master of the Kevin family couldn't help but curl his lips. What kind of T. Wade master, who knows some feng shui and can teach traditional medicine, dare to call himself a master? This kind of parallel imports in East Cliff has long been known to be killing the time. Honor hurriedly said, "What the third young master said is that our Oris Hill is a small place, but you don't think the place is small, but this temple is small and windy, and there are many kings in shallow water. Anyone who dares to call a true dragon in this pond. Calling a true dragon in vain?" The third young master of the Kevin family snorted coldly, raised his eyebrows and asked, "Does this Charlie claim to be a true dragon?" Honor said in a low voice, "I don't know if he claims to be himself, but in the rivers and lakes of Oris Hill, he is called the real Dragon Leaf Mister among others." The third young master of the Kevin family sneered, "He is a real dragon on Earth? Eidolon Kevin is also a dragon, and the dragon of the Kevin family in East Cliff. I want to see today, who is the real dragon on Earth." Honor hurriedly slapped a flattering, "If Charlie really compares with you, it will be so much inferior, I am afraid that you will not even be able to compare with him." "That's natural." The third young master of the Kevin family glanced at Charlie with his nostrils in the sky, and sneered in his heart, "The smelly rag from a small place dared to steal my limelight. Today, the young master crossed the river. Let's get the operation done with you first, and let the old fraudulents in Oris Hill have eyes long, knowing who is the real dragon on Earth." Delon Kevin wanted to compare Charlie in public, so he asked directly from the main guest seat, "Mr. Wade, right? I heard that you have a nickname called True Dragon on Earth, is it true?" Charlie smiled indifferently, and said indifferently, "The so-called real dragon in the world is also a nickname given by some friends from the rivers and lakes." Plus Delon sneered, and said with a bit of sarcasm, "Mr. Wade, I am Kevin is very curious about what birthday gift you have prepared for Miss Warnya today? A real dragon like you is definitely unusual for a shot, right?" Charlie smiled and said, "To be honest, I didn't know Miss Warnya before that she was going to have a birthday banquet today. After I knew it for a while, I hurriedly prepared a little gift. It's nothing more than to show my heart." The more modest Charlie was, the more Delon wanted to slap him in the face in public. So he clung to Charlie and didn't let go, and asked, "Why is Mr. Wade so humble? I just want to know what gift you have prepared." You can tell everyone or show it, okay? After speaking, Dalan said again, by the way, since Mr. Wade is a feng shui master, let me first guess, is it a piece of talisman paper that Mr. Wade gave to Miss Warnia, or a talisman? Charlie smiled faintly. Mr. Kevin is really smart, he's very close. When Dalan heard this, he immediately smirked and said, our family has a subordinate who makes small commodities in Yuwu. I heard him say that the amulet sold at Yuwu small commodity market is only a few cents a piece. How much is Master Wade Wholesaler? If Mr. Wade Wholesaler is more expensive, then I can introduce this servant to meet you and provide you with a cheaper source of goods. Honor heard this with a smile. His father Tianming also felt a little uncontrollable, but the other people on the table looked a little ugly. After all, Charlie has always been admired by everyone. In everyone's eyes, whether he is Mr. Wade or simple Charlie, he is an incomparable existence for ordinary people. Now this Dalan dared to attack Charlie as soon as he came, making everyone feel a little unhappy. Isaac almost subconsciously wanted to slap Dalan directly. He doesn't know any good or bad dog things. Opening a pair of dog eyes and pretending to be coercive to his master is really blind. But thinking about it carefully, he resisted the urge again. It is very simple to draw this Dalan, but once you are here and draw Dalan on the spot, then it is very likely that Charlie's identity will be guessed. Charlie was smiling at this moment. He didn't pay attention to Dalan at all. If Dalan is more acquainted with his own well, he might as well let him pretend to be a force here. But this guy actually provokes him blindly, so he has to show him some color. So Charlie quietly instructed Isaac to take out his mobile phone and record the video secretly. Then he looked at Dalan and said with a smile, Mr. Kevin is really a dragon and a phoenix. The first time I saw him this day, I felt that Mr. Kevin was very different. The magnanimity of the shot really surprised me. Hearing Charlie's compliment, Dalan's smile became even thicker. He thought Charlie had confessed to himself. Unexpectedly, Charlie immediately asked, Mr. Kevin said just now that the necklace you gave is worth 20 million USD. I wonder if it is true or not. Dalan said in an arrogant and cold voice, my Kevin family is in Eastcliff, and it is also one of the top 10 family. A necklace of 20 million US dollars is not worth the fraud. Charlie nodded and smiled. Then Mr. Kevin, guess what? How much is the gift I gave Miss Song worth? Dalan sneered, although I didn't see what you gave, I guess it will definitely not exceed 10,000. Charlie smiled and said, Mr. Kevin, tell you the truth. The gift I gave not only exceeded 10,000, but also much more expensive than your necklace. When Dalan heard this, his whole body suddenly became furious. Where are you from? How dare you pretend to be in front of me? Charlie smiled and asked, if the gift I give is really more expensive than your necklace, what do you say? Dalan snorted coldly. So many people witnessed that if your gift is really more expensive than the necklace I gave, I will eat this necklace on the spot. Charlie clapped his hands and applauded, and said with a smile, very good, then it's a deal. Dalan frowned and said, Mr. Wade, if the gift you give is not as expensive as mine, what do you say? Charlie smiled and said, if it's not as expensive as yours, I will eat the set of tableware in front of you. When Dalan heard this, he laughed and said, this set of tableware is made of bone china. What if you can't eat it anymore? Charlie said calmly, "If I really lose, then even if this set of tableware is broken, I will eat a lot of it in my stomach." Upon hearing this, Warnya hurried to persuade Charlie, "Mr. Wade, why do you have to be familiar with him? Even if you really give Warnya a piece of paper, it is worth thousands in Warnya's eyes." Charlie smiled slightly, "Miss Song, don't worry, I have always been sure of what I do." Dalan saw that Warnya was so upholding Charlie, and his heart was annoyed. Afterwards, he patted the table, stood up and applauded, "Okay. Mr. Wade really has the style of a master. There are so many people present today, then we will let them be a testimony. If the gift you give to Miss Song is really better than mine. If the gift is expensive, I will swallow the ruby necklace I gave, but if the gift you give is not as expensive as I gave it, you won't be able to swallow one less piece of porcelain for this set of tableware." Charlie nodded and said with a smile, "In this case, please ask Miss Song to take out the present from me." Warnya was a little worried, and took out the small gift box that Charlie gave to her. She hasn't opened the gift box yet, so she doesn't know what it contains. Charlie said to Warnya a little apologetically, "Miss Warnya, I'm sorry to give you the gift, I want you to open it in person and show it to everyone." Warnya quickly and respectfully said, "Mr. Wade, you are too polite." Charlie smiled and said, "Then please Miss Warnya to open this gift box in public." When Dalan saw the gift box in Warnya's hand, which was not as small as a ring box, he sneered and said, "With such a small size, even if you have no diamonds in it, my ruby is expensive." Charlie smiled and said, "Diamonds are just carbon elements. In my eyes, there is no essential difference between a diamond and a piece of coal, so why would I give Miss Warnya such a vulgar gift?" When Dalan heard what Charlie said, his heart was immediately annoyed. "Charlie, this kid, it is clear that he is vulgar." So he snorted coldly, "Don't be silly here, let everyone see what is your gift." "I really don't believe it. The things in such a small box can be worth more than a 20 million ruby. Expensive. This set of bone china tableware, you have it." At this moment, most of the people present gave Charlie a cold sweat. Although everyone knows that Charlie is very good, and even has a lot of accomplishments in metaphysics, they really don't believe that Charlie can compare to Dalan for this kind of purely more than money. The strength of the Kevin family is indeed much stronger than those of the Oris Hill family. From the perspective of the scale of assets, Dalan came to Oris Hill, that is, the Raptors crossed the river. Because in Oris Hill, no one has beaten Dalan. No one can beat him even in the whole Oris Hill comes together. Moreover, the $20 million ruby necklace is almost at the top in the ruby world. Even an egg-sized diamond may not be worth so much. So everyone is speculating about what exactly is in the little box that Charlie gave to Warnya that would make Charlie so confident that it would be more expensive than $20 million. Warnya carefully unpacked the gift box at this time. When the small square gift box inside was exposed, everyone present became even more worried. This kind of gift box does not look like a high-end thing, because the real good things, the gift boxes for packaging, are also very elegant. But Charlie looked like he was in a gift shop, and he bought one at random, which was worth a few hundred at most. At this time everyone thought Charlie was defeated. After seeing the gift box, Dalan laughed disdainfully and said, "Mr. Wade, what is worth more than 20 million US dollars in such a broken box? Is it a bit too cheap? Charlie said indifferently, the value of a thing is not judged by its packaging, so although Mr. Kevin is dressed well, your value may not be higher than those of ordinary people. Delon asked with a cold snort, what do you mean by this? You mean, the value of this young master is not as high as yours? Charlie smiled slightly, it's just an analogy. If you really want to think like this, then I can't help it. As he said, Charlie spread his hands helplessly, his face full of confidence. Delon was uncomfortable, but he was too lazy to talk to him, so he said in a cold voice, hurry up and let everyone know, I'm still waiting to see how you eat these utensils. Warnya looked at Charlie with a worried expression. At this moment, she didn't know if she should open the gift box. Charlie gave her a relieved expression and smiled indifferently, Miss Warnya, since Mr. Kevin thinks so, see what is inside, then open it and let him take a look. Warnya nodded and gently opened the lid of the gift box. It doesn't matter if you open it, a strange fragrance immediately rushes out of the gift box. Mr. Song, who was sitting next to Warnya, felt like a lightning strike when he smelled this smell. He is too familiar with this taste, because this is the magical rejuvenation pill that made him at least 20 years younger. At this time, someone on other tables also exclaimed, oh my god, it is really a rejuvenation pill. Mr. Wade's handwriting is really too big, right? Miss Warnya's birthday, he actually gave a rejuvenation pill. I really envy Miss Warnya, who can receive such grace from Mr. Wade. Many people who came to Warnya's birthday party today have also attended the birthday banquet of the Song family. Everyone saw with their own eyes the magical scene that happened when Mr. Song took the rejuvenation pill. At that moment, everyone was full of ultimate desire for rejuvenation pill. There is no doubt that everyone is rich, even if there is no such wealth as the Kevin family, but at least they have a lifetime of glory and wealth. Taylor, who was with them on the table, was shocked and speechless. He is the richest man in Hiken, and in terms of wealth, he is not much worse than the Song family. And he has also reached old age this year, and he can obviously feel that his body is much worse than before. This is irreversible no matter how much money is spent. So he dreamed that he would have the opportunity to have a rejuvenating pill, even if he was asked to take out 1/10 of his assets, he would not regret it. Because he knows that apart from the rejuvenation pills, even if he spends several billion, he cannot buy back 20 years of youth. Macau gambling king Stanley Ho, he is really a very rich, super rich, but he is over 90 years old, and there is no way he can buy back his youth. The only thing he can do is to spend several hundred million to the hospital every year to let the hospital save his life. However, the time bought from the hospital can only delay death, so what if you live for 2 years, 3 years, or even 5 years? The 5 years that he spent several billions on buying back just lasted his life and couldn't change his dying physical state. If it can make his body go backwards and return to a younger state in 5 years or even longer, then for him, not to mention spending billions, even spending 10 billion is worth it. At this time, what everyone sees is not money anymore, but things that are more important than money. Such as time, such as youth, such as health, and lifespan. So for them, there is nothing more fascinating than a rejuvenation pill. It is very rare that even a dying person will be able to restore health and prolong life with it. Even Warnya herself observed at this rejuvenating pill, so shocked that she couldn't say a word. She never dreamed that Charlie would give her such a valuable gift. In her own eyes, the value of this rejuvenation pill is 10 times, 20 times, or even hundreds of times that of Delon's ruby necklace. Warnya's eyes were instantly blurred by tears. She looked at Charlie with affectionate eyes, choked and said, "Mr. Wade, how dare Warnya to accept such a valuable gift from you?" Charlie smiled slightly and said indifferently, "I will give it to you, and you will accept it." "What's the dare to accept?" Elder Song, who was on the side, was so excited that he was going to pass out. After taking a rejuvenating pill, he has a more intense desire for rejuvenating pill. After you have something, you will know how amazing it is. After taking a rejuvenating pill, Mr. Song felt that the whole person was regaining his youth. Since then, he has been enjoying the magical taste brought by his 20-year younger body, while also looking forward to the opportunity to further improve his body. At the same time, he was also worried that if 20 years later, he became the dying old master again, whether he could still ask for another rejuvenation pill from Mr. Wade. After all, it has a lifespan of 20 years, and everyone will be crazy about it. And now, Mr. Wade actually gave another rejuvenation pill to his granddaughter. If he treats his granddaughter better, maybe she will be willing to give this rejuvenating pill to him. Delon found that everyone was shocked at that grey pill, which made him very upset. So he snorted heavily and sneered, "Where did you get such a powerful pill? Just this tattered thing, dare you to say that it is more expensive than my ruby necklace?" In Delon's eyes, the rejuvenation pill that Charlie took out was indeed an inconspicuous fake pill. Even some pills that have been fired to sky-high prices in traditional medicine circles, the most expensive top product is only a few $100,000. Take 10,000 steps back and say that even if Charlie's so-called rejuvenating pill is the most expensive traditional pill, what can it do? Compared with this ruby worth nearly 130 million, it is a huge difference. Therefore, Delon felt that he had already won over Charlie. After Delon arrogantly said that, he originally wanted to accept everyone's praise, but he did not expect that everyone looked at him as if they were caring for a mentally retarded person. This can't be blamed on him, because he is the only person in today's birthday party who does not know the value of rejuvenation pill. Although everyone present felt that Delon was mentally retarded, after all he was the third young master of the East Cliff Kevin family, so no one dared to express it directly. However, Delon can still see a clue from everyone's eyes. He couldn't help but wonder, what's the situation? Is this so-called rejuvenation pill really valuable? Impossible, just how much money can it be worth? At this moment, Charlie looked at him and smiled slightly, and said, "Mr. Kevin, how much do you think my pill is worth?" Delon snorted coldly, and said contemptuously, "In my opinion, it is worth 100,000 at most." Charlie smiled and said, "In this case, then we might as well be here and improvise a small auction." Delon frowned and asked, "Auction? What do you mean?" Charlie smiled and said, "It's here. Take our two things out for auction to see which has the high final transaction price. What do you think?" Delon snorted coldly, "What are you kidding me? My ruby necklace is a birthday gift for Miss Warnya. How can I sell it? Charlie said, well, and you believe that your necklace is really worth $20 million according to our gambling agreement, does it mean that my pill is more expensive than your necklace? Delon laughed. Mr. Wade, don't you want to auction some of your rejuvenation pills here? Do you really think your SHT rejuvenation pills can be sold for more than $20 million? As he said, Delon sneered again, and you are really nasty. Even if your rejuvenation pills are worthless, they are also your birthday gifts to Miss Warnia. How can they be auctioned? Shameless, right? When Warnia heard this, she was anxious, and almost subconsciously blurted out, Delon, I don't allow you to say that to Mr. Wade. The people present were shocked, and no one thought that Warnia would directly confront Delon in order to protect Charlie. Delon's expression is also very wrong. Warnia took the wrong medicine, right? When someone gave her such a forcing gadget, she then just defended the other. He gave her such an expensive ruby necklace, but she didn't give him a good face. However, Delon didn't know how much Warnia was grateful to Charlie at this moment. Seeing her sweetheart being ridiculed by Delon, Warnia naturally wanted to defend him. At this moment, Charlie smiled indifferently, and took out another rejuvenation pill from his arms, and said with a smile, Look, I have this thing. The one given to Miss Warnia is naturally impossible to take again. Come out for auction, what I want to auction is this current one. After that, Charlie stood up and said to everyone around him, You all know what rejuvenation pill is, I won't introduce it here, so let's just start the auction simply and rudely. When everyone in the room heard that the rejuvenation pill was really going to be auctioned off, their expressions were almost crazy. This is a magical medicine that can never be seen in dreams. Charlie has never sold even one, so this thing is simply invaluable. Those who come today are also rich people, who don't want to seize this opportunity to buy a rejuvenating pill and regain their youth. So everyone is eager to try one by one, and everyone is thinking in their hearts that even if they pay a high price, they must buy this rejuvenation pill. At this moment, Charlie looked at Delon with a smile and asked, Mr. Kevin, the current exchange rate of RMB to US should be around 7 per US, which means that your ruby necklace is worth 1.40 million, right? Delon said arrogantly, It seems you are good at math. Yes, it is 140 million. You may never have seen so much money in your life? Are you scared? Charlie smiled slightly, It's impossible to be afraid. I will never be afraid in my life. After speaking, Charlie didn't pay attention to Delon again, but looked around and said to the people around him, Everyone, let me briefly talk about the auction rules. Mr. Kevin doesn't think I don't have a rejuvenation pill without his ruby necklace. Is it expensive? In that case, my starting price is set at 150 million. What? Delon heard that Charlie was going to set the starting price of rejuvenation pill at 150 million. He suddenly widened his eyes and blurted out, You have a brain disease, right? Your SHT, you dare to sell it. 150 million, do you treat everyone here as a fool? As soon as the voice fell, Old Master Song immediately raised his hand and said, Mr. Wade, I would like to give 150 million. After hearing these words, Delon was immediately confused. He looked at Mr. Song and asked in a cold voice, Grandpa Song, you deliberately want to protect the Wade, and you can't get along with me? I came here with full sincerity when I came to the Song family. If you are not sincere, don't blame me for turning the face. Father Song looked embarrassed. He didn't make an offer to protect Charlie, he really wanted this rejuvenation pill. He is a person who has personally experienced the magical power of rejuvenation. To him, no amount of rejuvenation pills is too much. Not to mention 150 million is 1.5 billion, he is willing to buy, and even if 10 pills he is willing to buy in one go. 1.5 billion pieces, buying 10 pieces is no more than 15 billion. For the Song family, it will not hurt the bones, but the 15 billion spent to give the old master may live for decades. In this case, for the Song family I don't know how much money he can make, so this sale is definitely worth it. But when he heard Delon's words, he was a little hesitant, because he didn't want to directly offend Delon publicly. After all, that would be equivalent to giving Song family a strong enemy. At this time, Charlie smiled and said, Mr. Song, in order to avoid suspicion, you should not participate in the auction of this pill. Let people outside the Song family participate, lest Mr. Kevin think you are cheating for me. Mr. Song, seeing that Charlie had said so, he had to say with regret and respect, since Mr. Wade has ordered, then the old master will not participate in this auction. Delon's expression eased a little. It seems that the Song family is still acquainted, and besides the Song family, he believes that no one else would be interested in this pill with a starting price of 150 million. Just when he breathed a sigh of relief, Taylor, the richest man in Hiken at the same table, raised his hand in excitement and said, Mr. Wade, since Mr. Song has abstained, then I am willing to give 150 million. Delon just thought he was determined to win. It is impossible for anyone to be willing to spend 150 million to buy this rejuvenation pill. Unexpectedly, Taylor slapped him in the face with practical actions. He looked at Taylor in surprise, gritted his teeth and asked, Mr. Lee, what do you mean? Although Taylor also knew that Delon had an extraordinary background, the rejuvenation pill was too temptation for him. Even if he offended the Kevin family, he would take down this magical medicine. Who would have trouble with such a magical opportunity as 20 years younger? Not to mention Delon blocking the front, even the King of Heaven, Mr. Wade could not stop Taylor from bidding. So Taylor looked at Delon and said lightly, Sorry, Mr. Kevin, I has longed for Mr. Wade's rejuvenation pills for a long time. Today is such a good opportunity, I will never miss it easily. If you are offended, please forgive me. Delon's expression suddenly became extremely ugly, because he knew that with Taylor's bid, he had lost to Charlie. Losing to Charlie not only meant that he was going to lose face in front of so many people, but also that he was going to swallow this ruby necklace in front of so many people. Just when he had an extremely ugly expression and thought that Taylor had deliberately acted against him, someone on the table next to him said, I'm paying 151 million. Someone made a bid, and Taylor was still 1 million higher. Does this make it clear that he wants to bid? At this moment, Charlie said with a smile on his face, Gentlemen, I forgot to explain that the starting price is 150 million, and the minimum price increase is 10 million. We don't want 1 million and 1 million linger on and on. It's too petty and boring. The man nodded hurriedly and blurted out, "Since Mr. Wade said so, then I will give 160 million. Delon's eyes almost fell to the ground. Such a ghost has a starting price of 150 million. Not only have some people shot it, but some people have increased the price. Are these two people thinking about it?" Before Delon could come back to his senses, someone at another table stood up and said excitedly, "I would like to give 170 million. Delon's expression was even worse than eating SHT, and he couldn't help cursing in his heart, "Are all these people crazy?" Before Delon accepted the 170 million quotation, Taylor waved his hand directly, "I will give 200 million. The scene was in an uproar. Taylor was really determined to win this rejuvenation pill. So just 200 million, it was just drizzle to him, it was just a warm-up. Qin Gang hasn't spoken, but his heart has long been unbearable. Rejuvenation pill. Mr. Wade's rejuvenation pills. Although he and his daughter had received 2 magical medicines from Mr. Wade, the magical medicine was still much worse than the rejuvenation pill. So he naturally didn't want to miss this good opportunity. So he raised his hand and said, "I would like to give out 210 million. Delon's face turned green. "It's 200 million, and there are people adding it up?" Just thinking of this, Solomon White said, "I am willing to give out 220 million. After that, Solomon White gave Qin Gang an apologetic look, arched his hands and said, "Brother Qin Gang, I'm sorry." Qin Gang also understood Solomon White's thoughts very well. Everyone had seen the magical methods of Mr. Wade, and they all knew how precious this rejuvenation pill was. Mr. Wade has never put out a rejuvenating pill for auction. This is the first time, and it may be the last. If they don't seize this opportunity, they might pass by so-called pills for the rest of their lives. Therefore, no one is willing to give up easily. Taylor also came to the spirit, waved his hand and said, 250 million, I'm sorry brothers, if you offend, please forgive me. Someone at the next table called, then I will give out 260 million. 270 million. 280 million. 290 million. Qin Gang raised his hand again, I will give out 300 million. In these few bids, basically, someone raised the price as soon as someone finished bidding. In order to grab this rejuvenating pill, everybody added 10 million and 10 million, basically without stopping. The whole scene is already boiling, even if it is a person with a net worth of only about 1 billion, at this time, he did not hesitate to follow up the bid. Everyone knows that money is precious and life is more expensive. Delon felt that every time someone bid a price, he was beating his face frantically. He has never been so embarrassed in his life. However, this is only the beginning. What makes him most uncomfortable is how he will step down later. Did he really let him to eat this ruby necklace? At this moment, the bidding is still going on, and it is still extremely enthusiastic. Taylor, Solomon White, and Qin Gang were unwilling to give up this great opportunity, and the others were gritting their teeth to keep up. Soon, the price has exceeded 500 million. At this time, in the next few tables, only 2 or 3 people were still making bids. The others had to abstain because the prices were too high and they were beyond the range they could actually bear. However, Even if the sky-high price of 500 million has been reached, the auction price continues. The price climbed all the way and soon exceeded 600 million. The only people who are still bidding are Taylor, Solomon White, and Qin Gang. The three people have a good relationship, and they are all familiar with Charlie. In fact, everyone did not intend to make it too ugly, but this pill is too precious, and no one is willing to give up, so every time the three of them bid, they bid. Like the other two people, people would bow their hands and say sorry. The situation at the scene suddenly became very magical. After Solomon White said 600 million, he clasped his fists and said, "I'm sorry, two brothers, if you're offended, please forgive me." When he arrived at Qin Gang, he reported 610 million, and said with a fist, "I'm sorry, two brothers, if you're offended, please forgive me." Then there was Taylor. He directly reported 650 million, but still clasped his fists and said, "I'm sorry, two brothers, if you offend, please forgive me." The others are already stupid. What is the relationship between these three people? Everyone calls the other two elder brothers, then who is the elder brother and who is the younger brother? It doesn't matter who is the elder brother and who is the younger brother. What is important is that these three people are not willing to give up at all, chasing after each other, pushing the price higher and higher. In the blink of an eye, the price has been pushed to 980 million. Delon has been blinded. 980 million. His necklace is only worth 140 million, which has been opened several times. What is this rejuvenation pill? How can it be so valuable? Just thinking of this, Taylor said directly, "I will give out 1 billion. Solomon White felt that if he continued to play like this, he would basically have no head. In terms of assets, he might be able to compete with Qin Gang, but he was definitely incomparable with Taylor. Therefore, if you still add a little bit of it, it will be difficult to survive for Taylor in the end. So he simply gritted his teeth and blurted out, "I will give out 1.1 billion. A $1 million increase in one breath. Everyone present was already shocked by his courage. After Solomon White bid 1.1 billion, Qin Gang also felt that he had to come up with some means, otherwise he would probably miss this rejuvenation pill. So he gritted his teeth and said, "Since Brother White has already bid 1.1 billion, then I will pay 1.2 billion. Taylor didn't care too much. He himself was richer than Qin Gang and Solomon White combined, so whether it was 1.2 billion or 1.5 billion, it didn't make much difference to him. But this rejuvenation pill, he is determined to get it. So he said indifferently, "If this is the case, then I will go straight to 2 billion. As soon as the voice fell, the scene was boiling. From 1.2 billion to 2 billion, this is simply the most incredible and lavish auction that everyone has ever seen. What is the concept of 2 billion cash? If 1 month's pocket money is 10 million, then 2 billion is enough to spend nearly 17 years. If these 2 billion are deposited in the bank, calculated at an annual interest rate of 5%, the annual interest alone will be 100 million. Calculated in this way, the monthly interest is more than 8 million. This is simply an astronomical figure that is unimaginable for ordinary people, even the rich. But for a billionaire like Taylor, this is nothing more than 1/20 and 30/30 of his own assets. Taylor has struggled for half his life, earning money for enjoyment, and to make himself live better and more chic, so 2 billion to buy a rejuvenation pill is simply too cost-effective for him. So when he quoted this price, he didn't feel distressed at all. But Solomon White and Qin Gang, at this moment, felt a deep weakness in their hearts. Behind these two people is a large-scale family. Each family's direct relatives and collateral relatives add up to dozens of people, that is, dozens of mouths waiting to eat. Take Qin Gang as an example. The Qin family's assets are less than tens of billions. It's not impossible to use 2 billion to bite the bullet. But Qin's assets are not only owned by Qin Gang. If he spends 2 billion to buy a rejuvenating pill, his own money is not enough, he must use family money. In this way, the family must have great opinions. After all, there is only one such thing as rejuvenating pill, and it cannot be distributed to everyone. So he could only hold his fists helplessly towards Taylor, and said, "Mr. Li is really extraordinary, I admire him." Solomon White's situation is no better than Qin Gang, and even in terms of strength, the White family's strength is a bit weaker than that of the Qin family. What's more, the two descendants of the White family, Gerald and Fred White, offended Charlie and lost the qualification to cooperate with the Emgrand group, which also caused the White family to lose a lot. Therefore, the current White family can only stay away from the price of 2 billion. Seeing that no one had robbed him, Taylor was relieved. However, he was not half proud, nor did he express his joy. He held fists at Solomon White and Qin Gang, and said modestly, "Brother White and Brother Qin, thank you for your love, and someone from Li will come to thank you next day." Both Solomon White and Qin Gang spoke very humbly. President Taylor is polite. It is the extraordinary strength of Mr. Li. The two of us are beyond expectation. Everyone couldn't fully marvel at the harmony between the three. A rejuvenation pill with a starting price of 150 million was fired all the way to 2 billion by the three of them, but the three of them were still not eager and blushing, and even everyone was quite decent, which was indeed praised. At this time, Li Taylor looked at Charlie and said respectfully, "Mr. Wade, since no one else is bidding with me, then I take the courage to pick your rejuvenating pill." Charlie nodded lightly, handed the rejuvenation pill directly to him, and said, "In that case, this rejuvenation pill is yours." Taylor didn't dare to take this rejuvenation pill, and hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, I haven't paid the money yet, and I am ashamed of it. I will call the company's financial department and transfer the money to your account immediately." Charlie nodded and smiled, took out his premium card, handed it to Taylor, and said, "This is my card. Just put the money into this card." Delon was stunned by this card. "Isn't this the top premium card of Citibank? It seems that there are no more than 5 people in the country with this card. Moreover, Citibank has very strong privacy protection for top premium card customers. What is the origin of Charlie? How could he have this card?" At this moment, Charlie looked at Delon suddenly and said with a smile, "Mr. Kevin, your necklace is worth $20 million, and my rejuvenation pill is worth 2 billion. Who is high and who is low? I don't think I need to say it." Delon's expression was extremely ugly. What are these bird people? 2 billion to buy a powerful pill, is it a brain disease? But cursing is not very useful, After all, I have just let out the words, and now I don't know how to end it. Do you really let yourself swallow this ruby necklace? It is easy to swallow, what if it gets stuck in the intestines and cannot be pulled out? But if you don't swallow it, how will you end up today? After all, those ruthless words were all made by myself, so I can't break my word in public. But thinking about it carefully, it's okay to cheat in public. Anyway, I don't know anyone in Oris Hill, so I'm not afraid of gossiping behind these people. But thinking about it again, I still plan to develop relations with Warnya. If I lose such a big face in public today, and I break my promise, it will not be so easy to impress Warnya in the future. Just when he was hesitating, Isaac shook the phone in his hand and said, "Mr. Kevin, I have videotaped the whole process of what happened just now. If you confided in the third master of the Kevin family, then I will send this video to East Cliff's Circle, hoping that Mr. Kevin could weigh it himself." Delon looked at Isaac dumbfounded, and said angrily, "Mr. Isaac, I have no grievances with you, why are you doing this to me?" Isaac said indifferently, "Mr. Kevin, you are a bit unreasonable to say that. I have always been fair in doing things. I will always help or not help my relatives. Today's matter is your own provocation first and you reached a consensus, why do you want to break your promise now? Is it just because you are the third young master of the Kevin family, can you speak for nothing? I remember the grandfather Kevin and the ancestor they have been in the world for decades. He is famous for his words, and his words are faithful. If you really get your moral character, you will start to decline?" When Delon heard this, his face suddenly became extremely ugly. Unexpectedly, Isaac knew his father and grandfather so well. After the surname Kevin was a saint, even the whole world was unified throughout his life. The more common characters of the Kevin family in modern times are generally good. Delon is the German character generation. The Kevin family of East Cliff's line can go step by step to today, and is inseparable from the unremitting efforts of the previous generations of Delon's ancestors. Moreover, their ancestors, even in the generation of his father and grandfather, paid special attention to credibility, and spoke the same thing outside. Delon knew very well in his heart that if Isaac spread this video to East Cliff's Circle, the Kevin family would surely sweep the ground and become the laughing stock of everyone. Once the Kevin family knows what he said today that he did not believe, then he will be over. Grandpa will punish him according to the family law and even imprison him for 2 to 3 years. Thinking of this, he felt resentful in his heart. At the same time, he regretted it. As the saying goes, if you know today, why bother? Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.